Morning. Welcome. Admit. Oh, I learned this. Right. Good morning, or good afternoon, depending where you're at. Welcome. We're going to start in just a couple of minutes, just giving a little more time for others to join. In the meantime, for those that have already come to the meeting, if you could post on the chat, perhaps where you're at, where you're coming from, that'll be great to help us know a little bit more of who's here, who's present. That would be wonderful. Thank you. No one has said anything yet. All right. Oh, while we wait, I will ask a little bit. Lakshata, just wondering what the weather is like where you're at right now.
So both based out of Pune, and the weather is pretty pleasant actually. It's a
Yeah.
combination. I mean, it's a little bit of sunshine, but good, pleasant weather around 20-25 degrees.
Okay. All right. Nice. That's good.
What is it like at yours?
Well, where I am at I'm in Connecticut, so I'm not in sunny Florida. Today it's been rainy and not too bad in terms of the weather. The temperature, it's not bad. We still don't have to wear jackets or coats, even though we've had some ups and downs in that direction. But up here in the Northeast, things tend to change. We go from extreme 40 degrees Fahrenheit to all of a sudden we're up to 70 or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So it changes. It varies. The winter's not quite here yet.
All right, that sounds exciting though.
Yes, but the leaves are falling. They've turned colors already. So they've been hit by some of the cold weather. So that's always nice to see changes.
What is your personal preference? Is it the cold weather? Is it winters? What do you like better?
I am more of a fall and spring. I don't like the temperatures to be too uncomfortable. So yes. So I prefer I prefer the weather to be more on the not too cold, not too hot kind of temperatures. Yes. Thank you for
You
asking.
would absolutely love it. You have been in Pune.
Oh, sorry?
You would absolutely love it here in Pune then. In that case, if there's no extremities that you like.
That's wonderful. So you enjoy all year round beautiful weather. That's great. That's great. All right. So where are we at with our time? In our guess? Okay. Well, it's 1:05. We can start or we can wait a little longer. Tell me. You have no votes? Okay. Well, if we don't have a vote on it, I'd like to get your thoughts just on the behind the scenes of what it takes or what it took to start this mini orange webinar. And also get from our viewers, our guests, what their expectations are from the webinar. And then that way we'll, right after we hear from them, we can go ahead and get started. Do we have anyone that has posted or would like to share on the chat what their expectations are of the webinar? Our 3 guests, 3 attendees. I guess they want to remain anonymous. Okay. All righty. Okay. So I will ask this, Akshata and Mihir, what did you find to be the most challenging part of starting to put together this webinar?
Well, I believe it would be putting together a presentation for an audience that we've sort of worked with, sort of are exploring. So just getting an understanding and getting to know what should be the target and what should be the focus when we talk about these kind of presentations and webinars for specific regions, what they're expecting out of us, and how to best cater to them is something that I would say was a journey more than challenging. And I guess that is something that we worked together, and Swati also pitched in, and we got a better understanding from her as well, from her understanding of the market. So yeah, I guess that would be the major factor that I'd like to say.
Okay. All right. So I'm getting a little bit of a note here. Trying to figure out what that is. If I may have a moment, Mihir, if you wouldn't mind sharing some of your thoughts on the process of getting this going, that would be great. And I'll be right back. Thank you.
Sure. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest here. Akshata has done everything. I've just showed up. So instead, I'd probably like to talk about how we started webinars in the first place at Mini Orange. So I did the first ever webinar that Mini Orange conducted. This was probably 3.5 years ago. And the challenging part was at that point in time, not really the presentation or showing the product, because at that time we've been a part of maybe a few hundred identity and access management discussions. So it was never about the discussion itself, but the most challenging part would be to just get started. And I think that applies to everything, that it's quite easy once you get into that flow state of doing things. So for webinars now, I think this is probably our 30th webinar at this point, across many regions, many countries, many verticals, domains. We've done webinars centered around compliance. We've done webinars centered around technology. We've done webinars centered around the product demo, which is different than what we've planned for today. So once you've gotten started, you do hit kind of that flow state. But honestly, I feel like the most difficult part for anything and for this whole webinar journey is just to get started. So the first one was the hardest for me, I would say. But now it's just showing up and getting it done.
Beautiful, Mahir. Thank you so much for going through that. We're going to get started. I just want to again thank everyone for being here. It's always a pleasure, a delight to be able to come together and collaborate to bring more education to our audience. So today, just like to start and say that my name is Marilyn Miranda. I am a channel account manager, the regions of US and also Mexico for IGT Technologies or IG Technologies. And IG Technologies has been in existence for over 10 years. We're a boutique distributor based out of Miami, Florida. And it's just really such a joy to be able to work with such a grand, vast array of people throughout the countries, various regions. And so I'd like to also just recognize our great partners here, Mini Orange, Shata, and Mihir, who are going to be presenting after we go over today's agenda. We'd like to start, of course, with acknowledging the fact that we've had a collaboration. We're talking about IG Technologies. We're talking about the Mini Orange product portfolio in terms of the agenda. We'll be talking about success stories. So the solution itself, which is, of course, the webinar title, Approach to IAM and PAM, and also the Mini Orange Advantage. What makes this Mini Orange distinct from anything else that is out there? And then, of course, towards the end, we're going to have a question and answer with an exclusive offer, which is being sponsored, of course, by Mini Orange, which is wonderful. Getting your questions answered, followed by a special reward for attendees. Okay, so let us go on to our next part, which has to do with our partnership. IG Technologies with Mini Orange. We have a trusted partnership in IT excellence. Of course, as I mentioned, we have the cloud solutions now going over 20 in our portfolio, as well as cybersecurity, which is really what we emphasize and what we're passionate about, offering cybersecurity solutions throughout. And then, of course, managed services, proactive IT management and support, ensuring optimal performance and system reliability. And with that said, I want to introduce once again our host, our co-host, Akshata, as well as Mihir, who will be taking it from here, leading us on with a wonderful presentation and great information for us to continue to enrich our knowledge and be able to meet our goals more definitely with what they have to offer. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here with us, Akshata and Mihir, sorry.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Marilyn. I am Akshata, and today in this webinar, we'll be talking a lot about identities, access management, how Mini Orange solves these cybersecurity challenges. To begin with, I'd quickly like to introduce who we are as an organization. So, Mini Orange, being in the cybersecurity space with over a decade of experience and specializing in identity and access management solutions, has a presence in over 100 countries. And we've recently crossed the 25,000 customers mark in all of these different regions and countries that we've catered to. During this span, we worked with different products as well. In the identity solution specifically, we specialize in the identity and access management, privileged access management, whereas we have some comparatively newer solutions like data loss prevention, mobile device management, and many more. And we also have a 6,000 plus pre-integrated apps catalog list that we've established as we've worked with various different use cases, different requirements, and having the most renowned and most catered to applications set into our identity platform ensures seamless deployment. When we talk about cybersecurity, we're talking about identities, critical information of users, employees, sensitive data, critical resources. So it becomes of utmost significance that the vendor that you're choosing to handle these sensitive resources is reputed and established and recognized by one of the greatest review platforms or most trusted review platforms, which is Gartner Peer Insights. So Mini Orange has been acclaimed as a strong performer in the voice of the customer quadrant. And you can see it is placed alongside some established and reputed brand names like Okta, Oracle, Microsoft, CyberArk, which have been in the cybersecurity space for more than multiple decades. So this just goes on to say that Mini Orange is emerging in the access management space because of its rich features and functionality sets. So the support that we're providing and ensuring that we provide a very seamless and tailor-made user experience for our customers. We're proud to also highlight that we have been trusted by some big and reputed brand names from the American region. Some of the logos are placed on the screen like NASA, Mercedes-Benz, MasterCard, Accenture, IBM, Starbucks, HP, Disney, a few more from the LATAM region, which include major Brazilian retail chains like Fast Shop, then Inter, which is a Brazilian leading digital bank, then the Chilean Stock Exchange, which is considered to be one of the most reputed financial institutions in South America, and a few more government and retail brands from the LATAM region. So as you can identify that Mini Orange has been working with quite a lot of use cases, catering to different sets of customers from different regions, specifically from the American region. And we have established a lot of trust and ensured that our solutions are very effective in terms of the challenges that we're solving, and also that they ensure that the user experience and the overall experience that we're delivering to our customers is making them choose us and trust us with their cybersecurity challenges. Well, just another thing that I'd like to highlight, along with what we've talked about our customers and the platforms that we've received some feedback from and great reviews from. So you also can see that Gartner Peer Insights has given us the customer first patch. There's 3 parameters that I'd like to highlight about Mini Orange here. One would be that our ability to onboard use cases, meet requirements, ensure tailor-made experiences, ensure that our identity and access management solutions provides the most appropriate and cost-effective solutions. Secondly, our support. Mini Orange is a team of about 700 plus engineers working round the clock, catering to all time zones to ensure that we provide the right level and right sort of support that our customers require. May it be account level support, may it be technical support, Mini Orange team is always there to support along with our partners, which is IG Technologies. And the third factor which makes us or distinguishes Mini Orange from our vendors is our ability to provide multiple deployment options, which includes a completely on-premise, a fully on-premise solution, which ensures that all of your data remains completely in your intranet. Then we also provide a completely cloud option. And the third would be a private cloud. So these are the reasons that our customers have chosen us and are trusting us with such huge and critical resources of their organization. To dive into the product portfolio, Mini Orange has this umbrella of access management solutions. The 3 major pillars are workforce identity and access management, the customer identity and access management, and privileged access management. These three pillars cater to different sets of users, starting from workforce IAM, which is completely for your or internal employees or your organization's workforce. Whereas the CIAM caters to your end consumers or customers, partners, contractors, anybody who's external of your organization and wants to implement these identity solutions. And the third solution is privileged access management, which is for the users or employees which have access to your organization's critical or sensitive data, like databases, servers, any of their systems which have the sensitive data stored in them. When we talk about the identity and access management solutions, the four major components of it are single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, user lifecycle management, and adaptive authentication. And when we talk about privileged access management, it consists of the granular access control, password vaulting, session management, and just-in-time access. As we move forward with the webinar, we will dive deep into each one of these solutions and how Mini Orange implements them for our customers. Before we jump into the major solutions that we offer and what are our products, I would like to first jump into real life case studies where Mini Orange has implemented their identity solutions and solved some challenges for our customers, starting with Dawson Ohana, which is a government institution with over 1,250 employees. There were multiple levels and challenges facing across multiple levels, right? Starting from the administrators having to ensure that he tracks all of their accesses and identities across 8 critical applications, ensuring that they have the right employees accessing the right resources, no efficient tracking mechanism to handle all of these processes. Along with that, from an end user perspective or from an employee perspective, having to maintain credentials for each of these applications, repeating in some scenarios, repeating those credentials, which become a huge cybersecurity risk. So all of these challenges were being faced by Dawson Ohana. And how Mini Orange solved these challenges was by implementing single sign-on and multi-factor authentication. So what we essentially did for them was we ensured that there was centralized authentication where utilizing one set of credentials, as in a username and a password, they were able to access all of their 8 critical applications as well as a legacy .NET system, which does not innately support any modern authentication systems. But another challenge that pops up when you have one set of credentials is it becomes a target to phishing attacks or any other types of attacks. So to secure those identities and those credentials comes into picture multi-factor authentication. So utilizing OTP over email, the identities were verified before they were given access to these critical applications. So the result or the impact of this particular implementation was that almost 80% decrease was observed in the password related help desk tickets, which means that the process was completely centralized, the authentication was centralized, and the entire flow of right from authentication, user management, the flow of accessing those applications and ensuring the right people have access to the right applications was fully automated and there was no manual intervention required. Along with that, there was another added advantage of every activity or every login being tracked and having a record for it, and the administrator being able to review and basically monitor every single thing on a very granular level. Similarly, we also have worked with Clarity Benefit Solutions, which is one of the most recognized and reputed brands in the American regions for benefits administration. This particular firm has over 10,000 employees, and the challenge that they were trying to solve was very similar to Dawson Ohana's case, where they had multiple custom applications and a central WordPress portal. But the difference in this particular case was that they have very critical, sensitive patient data stored on their custom applications. So access to that sensitive data was to be monitored since the 10,000 employees can have access to anything and everything. So in this, for particularly clarity benefit solutions, what we implemented was a customized flow where we implemented single sign-on and ensured that utilizing one set of credentials, all of these applications were given access to. But along with that, we ensured that when the employee was trying to log in for the first time, their device was being registered and being marked as a registered user. So on the second attempt of trying to logging in, the multi-factor authentication was not being prompted again. So such kind of scenarios where there's specific requirements or tailor-made solutions where you want to give in a particular experience to your users, can be highlighted as one of the USPs that Mini Orange has to offer. Now, the impact that we're talking about here was a completely personalized user experience with a white label domain. Along with that, we implemented a completely cloud solution in just 6 weeks. And again, a fully automated and streamlined authentication system, which ensured that all of your users are being authenticated and verified before they were logging into these critical applications. So far, we've talked about who we are as an organization, what are the sort of reviews and feedback that we've received from our customers, who are our customer bases and who are our premium users. Along with that, a couple of success stories which highlight how impactful and effective our Mini Orange solutions have been in solving security challenges. From here, I'd like to hand it over to Mihir to take it forward regarding the product portfolio and dive deeper into it.
All right. Thanks, Akshata. Thanks, Madeline, for setting that context. I think we started off on the right foot, but I want to take a small step back and focus on the very fundamentals of what we're talking about. So naturally, you've seen that the title of the webinar is IAM and PAM Essentials, right? So I want to start off by saying, hey, this is Mihir. I work as a senior IAM consultant with Mini Orange. I've worked with Mini Orange for almost half a decade now. And some of the things that I observe in many conversations that we have revolving around identity and access management is that there's a lot of chaos out there, right? In a lot of different organizations, various domains, lots of applications, credentials, different tools, functionalities. It's mayhem. But what stands out to me is that the essentials are still pretty important, and just understanding the fundamentals and implementing the very core building blocks of identity and access management also go a long way in improving your security posture, right? So if we really look at this from a first principles perspective, identity and access management, there's a lot of truth that we can derive just from these words. Now, for example, I was looking at our screen here when Akshata was presenting, and my interface here might look different than yours, but the most important thing I see is names. I can see the names of attendees and organizers. I can see videos. And this applies a lot to our real life as well, right? Identity is a very core human need. The ability to just identify ourselves, our roles, and to have the right accesses. My identity in the real world, which is my first name, my last name, provides me with a set of accesses to resources into the real world. So I can enter our office premises using my first name and last name, often using my face. And those concepts also extend to the digital world. So everything that we are doing here today is for digital identities. And when we understand the importance of the concept of identities from a first principles perspective, we understand just how important it is for everybody, which is every human, to have a digital identity, every system to have a digital identity, every application, and every machine. So Mini Orange is the solution that helps us to provide these identities to humans, non-human identities, servers, applications, and also to manage those identities. The second thing about identities is accesses, right? An identity at rest is just a set of data points. But an identity in motion is what an access looks like. So for example, me sitting here with my first name and my last name, I'm just identity at rest. But when I'm showing up somewhere, when I'm introducing myself, that is me accessing a particular resource, a room, or a set of people. When we utilize that same concept to digital identities, we start to see a lot of problems. Those problems are what we're trying to solve. So just to set that fundamental context about why identities and accesses are even important and what are the essentials as per our webinar title behind IAM, right? So the 6 things that you see here on the screen are the core building blocks of any identity and access management solution. The first thing is managing identities at a central place. Because when you're using identities across a lot of different resources and assets online digitally, you want to be able to provide a sort of continuous access and a continuous reference for that identity. So, single sign on is a good way of doing that, where we assign a common identity for all users, which is generally a mixture of your first name, last name, your username, your password, and some deeper details like where you're based on, what your IP address is, what location do you usually access resources from. A combination of those metrics forms a unique fingerprint for all users, and that becomes their identity, right? And when you're centrally managing these identities, you're able to provide single sign on for your users, which essentially means that when you wake up in the morning, show up to work, access a lot of different applications, a lot of different resources, maybe some databases, maybe some servers, depending on what sort of an identity you're utilizing, you should have convenience when you're utilizing this identity. And you should have the same identity across all systems. When I log into my Google Workspace, I am still Mihir. And when I log into my Office 365, I am still Mihir. And the same applies to your Atlassian applications, your Oracle applications, maybe my mobile applications, some thick client apps which are not even accessed via the web browser. They're just the local app that's opening up on my desktop. I am the same identity. So, what we provide in terms of single sign on is a way for you to centrally manage all of your employee identities and your customer identities. We do this by being the single source of truth for all identities and accesses across all of your applications which your employees are using. These could be web applications, mobile applications, legacy applications, and custom in house applications. So, one question that usually comes up to me when we are talking about single sign on is it sounds like at a first glance that it's all about convenience for the end user, right? That end users are able to use a common identity, which is a single set of credentials, their username, their password, and other metrics around their digital identity, and accessing all of these different applications using that single set of credentials, right? This just sounds like it's making the life easier for the user. But how does this increase security? There's a few things which go behind implementing this central identity management. And when you're implementing SSO specifically, one thing that happens is that you, as the administrator, you get complete tracking, user behavior analytics, and reporting of the user's identities actions. What does that mean? Is that the administrator of an IAM solution is not only able to provide this SSO convenience for the user, but is able to track and monitor their every move, every application access, the date they're making that access, the time at which they access that application, which credentials did they use, which location did they access it from, what was their IP address, which device did they use, which browser did they have, every single thing. So while the user is getting convenience, what you are getting is a complete resource where if any incidents happen, let's say you have a critical application where you store your company's financial data and you want to find out who was it that accessed this financial data at what point of time. If there are individual user identities not managed centrally and the user has local access to the application, there is no traceability of any of their actions within the application, right? But when you're using a common identity and when you're using single sign on, MiniOrange is able to perform that post incident analysis for you identify which user was it, and then see at what time, what place, what device, etc., and give you that security, which always comes into play when an incident occurs, right? So that's one of the things. Other things that involve applying security for single sign-on is password policies. One thing that users do, and users are you and me and anybody else listening into this, is that if we are managing different passwords manually for different applications, we tend to either set a very easy to remember password. It could be Mihir123, it could be your name, ABC, your birth date, things which are, you and I both know, not that secure, publicly available mostly, and where we have a tendency to set repetitive passwords. We would set the same password for everything. With a centralized IAM platform, and when you're kind of unifying your credentials into one place, the admin also is able to enforce a very strict password policy. For example, when I set my mini orange password, it has to be at least 10 characters long, which is a basic restriction, right? But it cannot contain my first name. It has to contain 3 special characters. It cannot contain my last name. It has to perform a lot of checks for that password to be accepted. What this does is that the user has to set only one password for all of their applications, but you get to choose how secure that password can be. And that also enforces a lot of security which was not existing otherwise. So to sum it up, SSO as a fundamental concept is just unifying identity management, unifying their accesses to different applications, providing convenience to the user while parallelly enforcing a lot of security in the backend by tracking their activities and enforcing strong password policies. Now we have a lot of different mechanisms on top of SSO. SSO is just one of the core building blocks. There's multi-factor authentication, passwordless login, adaptive authentication, identity federation, user lifecycle management, AD management. What I'd suggest is let's move on. Let's dive deeper into these concepts, understand them individually, and let's see how they're actually implemented using Mini Orange. So when we talk about single sign-on, we first had a look at what it means fundamentally, right? How is it really implemented? In the real world, when you have a real customer environment or your own environment, there's going to be a lot of different applications. And these are not just different applications, these are also application types. So there's web-based apps, there's thick clients. Within the web-based apps, some of them are standard applications which are modern, which support SSO protocols, which are easy to integrate with relatively. Some of them are legacy applications, which are accessed via the web, but they don't support an SSO protocol. Or maybe some of them are just your own custom in-house applications that you've built in some technology, right? Most environments, above say 10 to 15 applications, have a combination of one or more of these application types. So it becomes very important for the identity and access management solution to not only manage the identities centrally, but also manage accesses to all of these applications and application types. So what Mini Orange is really good at in such scenarios is that we're able to support all your standard modern applications via SSO protocols. So honestly, you name the protocols: SAML, OAuth, OIDC, JWT, WSFed, CAS, any SSO protocol that exists out there or has ever existed out there, we support it out of the box, right? And the reason we have also added out of the box support for a lot of SSO protocols, which other vendors do not focus on, is that we have tried to build a breadth of integrations which is unmatched in the IAM space. The only way SSO can be secure is if you're securing each and every application. It's one of those things where even if 99% of your apps are secured, but one application has one sensitive data point, one local uh, unprovisioned digital identity, which is falling in the hands of the wrong people, that's it, right? Some of the most famous world breaches could have been avoided with a simple IAM solution, a simple deprovisioning of users at the right time. So supporting all application types is super important. So we are doing that using all of these different protocols. And for your legacy applications, we have an arsenal of very deep integrations with some of the most popular legacy applications, like the Oracle Suite, for example. So, Oracle eBusiness Suite, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, Siebel CRM. A lot of Oracle applications are legacy applications, which means that they don't support an SSO protocol out of the box, right? So, it's very difficult for IAM providers to integrate with these. Mini Orange is exceptionally good at these cases specifically because of us following that philosophy of having a complete breadth of integrations, right? So we've covered the standard apps, the legacy apps. If you build any of your apps on your own, so many of the conversations I have, I come across clients and environments where there's a custom made application that was built with a very specific purpose, solving an internal challenge which was not being solved by an external third party application. And it's usually built either in Java, Laravel, PHP, .NET, MediaWiki. There's a lot of technology stacks, right? What MiniOrange is able to do is we're able to add SAML OAuth SSO protocol support to these custom applications so that none of your applications are missed out from the SSO scope. And that covers the third category of applications, right? Here you can see that we also have support for thick client applications, or if you have a web-based app which does not support any protocol, nor is it a custom application, we also have a proxy-based solution called Access Gateway, Mini Orange Access Gateway, which is going to take care of those apps as well. To sum it up, any app you have, any application type you have, we're going to cover it for SSO. And the next step in implementing an SSO solution is that there's going to be some applications or some endpoints which are exceptionally sensitive, right? Moving back to my original example of an application which has financial data, for example. So, an SSO based approach of accessing that app is maybe not enough for you. You want to have an additional layer of security to really make sure that the person accessing that data is really who they say they are. Uh, so multi-factor authentication is the natural next core building block in implementing IAM, right? What it does is it gives you the ability to add an extra layer of security for any access to any application, any endpoint, any VPN, maybe a virtual desktop infrastructure that you use, or even your desktops. Generally, MFA is quite exhaustive by itself, but applying Mini Orange's philosophy of covering a large breadth, we have MFA support for more VPNs than any other vendor, more applications than any other vendor, and we have more MFA methods for supporting this access than any other vendor. So you can see that all of the applications we talked about in the previous slides, they will be supported for MFA. Any of your VPNs, Fortinet, Sophos, Cisco, OpenVPN, SonicWall, you name it, we're going to support those for MFA. And if you don't want to do it at the VPN level, if you don't want to do it at the application level, we also support MFA at the desktop level. So Windows machines, Linux machines, Mac machines, right when your users are logging into those machines, you can have an MFA prompt enabled at that very core step. We also have MFA support for network devices. So any routers, switches, firewalls, any vendor, Cisco, Juniper networks, it does not matter. Our breadth of integrations is going to take care of every single MFA option for you for all of these different endpoints. So I think that sums up what we do with our MFA mechanisms. When you're implementing MFA and you look at these methods, which is OTP over SMS, Google Authenticator, Mini Orange Authenticator, or push notification, these are all quite static in nature. So the natural user flow is going to be that a user tries to log into an application, enters their username and password, gets this MFA prompt, and then goes on to access the app. But there is also, if we move on to the next slide, the mention of passwordless authentication. A lot of times when you're implementing MFA on a risky access, you don't need passwords anymore. That's a step which can be eliminated, especially when you're accessing your Windows machines or Linux machines or Mac machines. When I access my machine, I do not enter a password. It's just my username, which verifies who I am, and a phishing resistant MFA. It could be a hardware token, for example, or for passwordless authentication, it can be MFA method. It increases user convenience massively. It is a very secure method because any knowledge based mechanisms are removed. It's all only going to be something that you have on you, an OTP that's coming on your mobile phone, or maybe a time based OTP on your authenticator application, maybe a push notification, or even a pattern based uh, pop up where you can set a pin or a grid based pattern to access your machine or your VPN or your applications, right? So when we cover these static ways of authentication and applying MFA, we naturally think of implementing a more adaptive or a more secure and smart way of implementing MFA. Because a static MFA is not enough. It can still be bypassed. An OTP can still be read when I'm entering it on a website, right? It's not phishing resistant, for example. Our adaptive MFA module really ensures that you have a complete picture of who your user is, where are they coming from, which device they're using, what is their IP address, what time are they accessing these resources, and it allows you to build a set of access policies which are going to monitor threats in real time, build a risk score for your user, and act on the fly. So, for example, you can set up something like device restriction, where you have an employee, they're accessing certain data. You want it to be such that they can only access certain data, certain applications from their company provided devices, maybe your office laptops, maybe a physical PC in the office premises. And you don't want them to access any data from their personal devices, could be their mobile phone or their personal laptop. You can use Mini Orange to set up access policies in a way where access to certain data, critical resources, applications is restricted to specific devices with a specific MAC address. So any access that comes out of that particular device, which is allowed to access this resource, is going to be denied by default. You use the same mechanism and extend the restriction policy to IP addresses. You can have a certain set of IP addresses whitelisted, which are your employees' office IPs, and any request that comes out of that whitelisted set of IP addresses can either be denied by default, or you can set it in a way where you want them to bypass an MFA. And if they're able to bypass that MFA, then they have access to the resources they were trying to access, right? The same mechanism extends to location based restriction policies and time based restriction policies. It's quite self explanatory, right? That if you have an office premise, a set location from where a user usually accesses resources, you want an adaptive, or let's say a behavior based restriction policy which will monitor any change in this behavior. If I log in from Pune every day and one day I randomly log in from a different location, let's say from Dubai, that's a massive change in my behavior. And an IAM solution is responsible to detect that and mitigate the risk that comes from it. So the time based restriction or the location based restriction would restrict this based on a change in my location or time of access, and only give me access if I'm able to bypass an MFA method. So to sum it up, risk based, real time, on the fly, adaptive authentication. That is what this module of ours does. The last core building block, once we've handled all identities centrally, once we've handled their accesses, given them convenience, and given them an extra layer of security for critical resource accesses, we want to set up automations and life cycles in a way that enables convenience even for the administrator of the IAM solution, right? So user provisioning and user identity lifecycle management is a module of ours which gives a lot of convenience to the administrators of the IAM product by setting automations for the complete life cycle of a digital identity. Generally, the life cycle of a digital identity starts from the inception of the identity, the creation of the user. It could be either in your Active Directory, It could be either in the HRMS that you're using, or it could be in a centralized IAM solution like Mini Orange. Through the life cycle, the user identity goes through a lot of changes. There's metrics, first name, last name changing. There's accesses changing. Maybe an employee gets a promotion and their accesses increase. Maybe a user needs to be deleted or deactivated temporarily if they're on leave. And finally, the life cycle ends when the user has to be deleted from all systems, right? So to handle this complete life cycle, you need an automation tool which is going to enable you to, from the inception to the deletion of the user, to completely manage all the changes that the identity is going through, right? What Mini Orange does is it acts as the central source of truth. It allows you to create users in Mini Orange where we are then going to provision this identity from Mini Orange to your Active Directory, to your HRMS, your CRM, and any other applications that you're using. In the real world scenario, if let's say, even if there's 1,000 employees and there's people coming in every day, moving away every day, their roles are changing, their accesses are changing. Maybe somebody updated their first name, maybe somebody changed their email address, maybe they changed their team. There's a lot of changes going on. What we do is have a real-time sync between all of these different places where that identity and that user exists. So my identity exists in the company Active Directory, company HRMS, the CRM, and all these 5-10 different applications that I have access to as a function of my role. So a lifecycle management solution essentially handles the forward provisioning of this identity from the single source of truth to the Active Directory, HRMS, CRM, and applications, and the deprovisioning of the user when the user is ending the life cycle, is moving away from the organization. Some of the world's greatest breaches, some of the most famous downfalls which happened due to cybersecurity could have been avoided with a smartly implemented lifecycle management solution, and especially with focus on a user deprovisioning solution, which is exactly what we offer here in this module. So I think when we move away from this conversation onto the next point, we look at these are core building blocks of IAM, right? But there's a lot of things that Mini Orange specifically is doing differently in the topic of IAM. So one thing is that our solution is super flexible in terms of the deployment. So we have a cloud-based deployment, 100% on-premise deployment, which is a very strong USP. There's very few IAM products in the world that are 100% on-premise, no cloud components at all. You can install it on any of your servers in an air-gapped environment and no outbound connections. We can still make everything work. Or in a private cloud / cloud hybrid sort of a setup, right? So we've built the modules and the product in a way where you can install it wherever you like, connect it to whichever applications you like, handle any type of identities, be it employee identities or customer identities, set in any custom functionalities using our team's help, any custom user flows, branding. If you maybe want to customize the complete access flow or the user interface of the user, the login pages, the URLs, it's completely customizable exactly as per how you like it, right? One more thing which stands out as a very core differentiating factor for us is the point that I've been trying to drive home all this time, the breadth of our integrations and the breadth of our applications, MFA methods, endpoints, protocols. We want to make sure that you don't have to go to any other IAM solution for any of these core functionalities when you're using Mini Orange, right? So I think that's what I'd like to focus on here as the key differentiators. When we move on to the next conversation, we realize, oh, we have a poll here. Sorry. Yeah, I think you should be getting a poll on your screen somewhere. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So I'm guessing there's a question about everything that I've spoken about up until now. And let me know when everybody's answered the poll.
There it is.
All right. The next important topic in the field of identity and access management is when you've taken care of all your employee identities, you also want a mechanism to take care of your customer identities. In a lot of cases, the identities that need to be managed are not of daily logins or employee users that have access to enterprise apps, but it's going to be end customers, subcontractors, part-time workers, just resources that have a lower frequency of logging in, but at a higher volume, right? In customer IAM cases, the most important thing an IAM solution is supposed to do is to not compromise the convenience and the friction of the user, right? Any CIM functionality is completely focused on one thing, which is implementing security, but not at the risk of convenience. An employee IAM approach can still compromise convenience in a few cases, like with MFA, because the access is genuinely super sensitive. A customer IAM solution cannot do that. Hence, everything that you see here right now is aimed at improving the convenience of your end customer users. For example, if you have a store or a website where you want to encourage people to come in and sign up, let's take the example of Amazon. Amazon is going to want users to create an account and identity by themselves without the help of an admin or without the help of a manual intervention. They want users to bring their own identities, and everybody has a social login account. Maybe we have a Google Workspace account, a Facebook account, Reddit, LinkedIn. There's a lot of different identities that we already have, right? We enable you to add a functionality for your end users to bring their own social identities and let them utilize their existing identities securely to access anything within your own platform, right? So this improves a lot of convenience for users when they don't have to create a new account every time. They can just use their existing ones. So social login is a good way of doing that. Progressive profiling is another example where using the same example of Amazon, right? Because you're wanting to reduce user friction using a CIM solution, you want to collect data from them only when you really need it. You don't want to collect a user's address just for them to add something to the cart. You want to collect their address when they want to place an order in the Amazon example. So, progressive profiling is a feature that we offer, which allows you to collect the right data points of your CIM users at the right time so that there is no unnecessary friction at the wrong time of their user journey, right? Passwordless login is another good example where if you're going to make users create an account on your website or on your store, maybe you don't want them to remember another password because they probably have an account on 20 different sites just like this one. If I'm able to just enter my mobile number, get an OTP and log into my account, there's nothing like it because I don't remember my username, I don't remember my password, but I remember my mobile number. I usually have my mobile on me. And a passwordless login approach really smooths up the user friction in a lot of these cases. And one last thing, which is super important in the context of CIM, is user analytics and insights. So, a good CIM solution is supposed to give you data around where your users are dropping off, what your usage looks like, and other IAM related functionalities like which applications are they accessing, which location are your users generally from, which sort of MFA methods are they preferring to set up. So all of these analytics, insights into their behavior, and a complete centralized report of these activities is also provided by our module of the CIM solution. I think the next thing we're talking about is also highly focused on security and takes away the conversation of convenience from CIM. So in the first segment, we discussed managing employee identities. In the second segment, we just briefly discussed managing customer identities. But there's a third type of identity in every enterprise, every organization, which is an administrator identity. An administrator user is going to have access to the most secure and sensitive data of your organization via your company's private servers, databases, uh, a lot of different web applications, maybe some thick client applications, and just many assets which have privileged data. So it's a privileged access. And when we're talking about managing access of such a privileged user to such sensitive data, you need a completely different product to take care of that, right? So through our PAM product that Mini Orange offers, we have a few core functionalities, which we'll see on the next slide here, which kind of ensure that the administrator accessing any of your company assets is always monitored. Their uh, uh, activities are always kind of centrally organized as a report. Their sessions have live monitoring. So we've implemented these 8 core functionalities. Password vaulting, for example, ensures that all the different passwords and credentials, which are administrator or privileged identities, are always rotated on a regular basis as per your company policy. The credentials are hidden from the physical administrators utilizing those accesses, and just an overall traceability is implemented when any privileged credentials are used, right? So even with our audit trails feature, very similar to our IAM functionalities, any accesses, any activities that the privileged user is performing is always audited, logged, recorded, and reported in the right places. Privilege session management is a super important functionality of any good PAM product, which allows the super administrator of the PAM product to monitor all administrators' activities in real time, have video recordings, for to provide the functionality for the admin to be able to search through this video that is recorded and to have a complete log of every single click, drag, enter command. Maybe on a database, a table was dropped, maybe something new was created, maybe a row was updated, to have a video log of everything that happened. We are able to provide this as an agentless approach. It's super lightweight, one of the easiest PAM solutions to implement. We're also covering your endpoints, Windows, Linux machines. We also have privileged account discovery. So at the network level, we are able to fetch all the different assets, privileged accounts, just to have a very smooth onboarding and to have ease of adoption. We also have the functionality to enable just-in-time access. So if any of your users temporarily needs some sort of an access and their general role does not permit that access to them by default, we enable the principle of least privilege, only give them that access when they really want it, and just take it away from them when they're done doing whichever activity they wanted to perform. So this kind of sums up everything that we do with the administrator users, which is above and beyond the employee and customer users through the Mini Orange PAM product. There's a few things at the very last which are also unique about our PAM product. Few things that I already mentioned, which is that it's an agentless PAM solution, so very lightweight to install. A great thing about the privileged session recording functionality that we have is that we have a proprietary protocol that we have built ourselves that enables you to store these recordings at a very light and a minimum file size. So you're able to store the logs of your video recordings of all the administrator activities on minimum database requirements, small lightweight servers with minimum cost to you, and access for a longer time naturally. Then one thing that is a part of the overall Mini Orange product philosophy is the customizability of our solutions, right? Because we're catering to so many different regions, so many different domains, so many industries, verticals, and sizes of organizations, it is very important to us that our product fits your environment and your use case and not the other way around. So in a lot of cases, when you're onboarding an enterprise product, you are given a set of checklists or things that you need to change in your environment so that that product can be used by you. Our approach is the exact opposite. We provide you with the ability to tell us what exactly is your requirement, tell us what user flow you're looking for, or any specific customization, and we change our product for you. So the approach is slightly different as compared to majority of the vendors on the market. So that differentiates our product philosophy with a lot of different experiences you might have had. I think we can move to the next slide. Oh, there's another poll. All right. Okay, are we done with the polls? Did the users get the poll? Great. So just to sum the whole discussion and the Mini Orange philosophy behind the identity and access management portfolio, which is that we want to provide you with a mechanism to handle all sorts of digital identities, So employee identities, customer identities, and administrator identities. We want to ensure that whilst you're managing these identities, you're able to cover every different application, every different VPN, every different type of endpoint, Windows, Linux, Mac machines, and the various MFA methods that are required to handle these accesses. And we want to provide you with flexibility, not only on the integration side, but also in deploying the product. It should be able to install wherever you like, on your cloud, on our cloud, on your local servers. We want to provide you with 24/7 support. So like Akshata said at the very beginning, we have a team of over 700 or I think over 750 engineers now who are working around the clock across various regions in the world, all the different time zones, supporting over 25,000 of our active customers, so that you always have access to a mini orange product professional anytime you're facing any challenge, right? And the last thing, which is one of the most important things, is that we want to do all this and enable this experience for you at an affordable price. So we have a very competitive price. The way we have built the licensing of the product ensures that you only pay for what you're actually using and not all the different functionalities that are available. So it's a flexible licensing model. And because of the help of our partners like IG, we're also able to keep it very competitive as compared to the other vendors in the market. So I think those are some of our favorite USPs that I think I have for mini audits. Great. That brings us to the end. And thanks a lot for your attention. I know this was quite a long discussion, but if you want to schedule a free demo, a consultation meeting, you can reach out here at IDP support at securify.com, or you can just hit the schedule a demo link, and any time zone, any use case, any application, we'll have a demo set up right away for you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kshata and Mihir. That was a very thorough presentation, and I'm sure that we have a good load of scope of the IAM and PAM as it relates to the needs and goals that we're trying to meet. I would like to find out if there are any questions on behalf of our attendees. I'm not sure if anyone got a chance to post anything on the chat. If not, I'm not sure if you have anything further. Again, I want to encourage you to book a demonstration with us so that we can look further into how Mini Orange can help you to meet your goals. And as the year is approaching an end, we want to make sure that you get a good start for the next year, making sure that anything that Mini Orange can offer you this year can be implemented so that you start the year on the right note, the right foot. Okay? All right. Any questions at all? I'm not sure if support has anything that they've seen or have any additional questions from anyone. If not, I just want to thank everyone. Again, I want to thank Akshata, Mihir, Swata. I want to also thank our internal team. Jonathan, I see, is there, and Saida, and Iris, and Israel, and Arnaldo, and Ernesto was here earlier. I'm not sure if I see him there. And of course, Alejandra was very instrumental in making sure that this webinar was organized and well crafted. And Hamir as well. Okay, I think I covered everyone there. Thank you so much. Again, have a wonderful rest of the day, and we're here to help in any way that we can to help you meet your goals. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Malin. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You as well.